This is an MSNBC special. Brian Williams reports the Tony Blair interview.
What was your darkest time in number 10?
I think any time that you commit your forces to war is the toughest time. I think any time then you're taking decisions that you know actually do mean genuine life or death for people, then, well, I think there'd be something flawed in you as a human being if you didn't understand the awesome nature of that responsibility.
How, Mr. Prime Minister, does it not cut you to the quick in some deep way when you read the expression poodle, lapdog to American presidents, especially this president and especially this war?
I mean, I've got used to a very intense level of criticism over it. You see, I've never had any doubt since September the 11th that our place was, as I said at the time, shoulder to shoulder with America.
And I say to you, we stand side by side with you now, without hesitation.
I believe that what we're facing today in Afghanistan, in Iraq, is part of a broader global struggle. It's not a battle that we have to win, it's a battle we can't afford to lose.
But it's been said, Mr. Prime Minister, you can't have been happy with the American management of the war. You can't have been happy with the decisions of Secretary Rumsfeld. Did you ever voice any of that to your friend, the President?
Look, there are discussions that you have in the course of something like this that, again, should remain between allies. But you can debate many of these issues to do with the disbandment of the Iraqi army and so on. It's not the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is there are people who were going to come into Iraq and try to disrupt and destroy the process towards democracy in that country.
You're perfectly willing to walk away from this job, knowing that you will be forever linked in history to President George W. Bush and that your legacy is wrapped up in your decision to join him in what critics of it call a purely elective war in Iraq.
Yeah, but you see, in the end with this job, you take your decisions, you make your judgments, you stick by them, if you think they're right. And that's what I've done. And I can't do it any other way. I'm not going to do it any other way.
Isn't it fair to ask, since you personally have paid such a heavy price for your support of President Bush and the war effort, what did Iraq have to do with 9/11?
You see, I took the view after 9/11, and take it still, that essentially what you had was a situation where we were brought face to face with a terrorism that was completely different. One, because its demands were completely unnegotiable. Two, because it was based on this extraordinarily powerful religious extremism. And three, because it believed in the unlimited destruction of us and our way of life. And therefore, the attitude that I took after September the 11th was that everything had to change. We had to change in respect of where these people were training, Afghanistan. We had to change in respect of the whole issue of whether they could ever get hold of nuclear or chemical or biological weapons. We had to alter our entire thinking. And the reason why I have, I'm not saying it's not been hard, because it has at times been immensely hard and challenging. This is not in the same category as other decisions that you take as Prime Minister. And I think if we'd taken a different decision, if we'd backed away, I think we would just have a different set of problems. And I believe that what is happening now, and I think this is the crucial thing really in Iraq, is that your public opinion, like our public opinion, looks at Iraq, they see the carnage, they see the loss of our own troops, they see how really difficult it is politically to make any progress there, and they say, well, what are we doing there? How can it be worth it? How can the cost really be worth this? And my response to that is to say, why is it tough? Why is it difficult? Why are we being put under this pressure? And we're being put under this pressure because the same forces that we are fighting everywhere are conspiring to put us under that pressure. If you took Al-Qaeda out of this on the one hand, up and around Baghdad, and you took out the Iranian-backed elements around Basra, if you separated those two things out of the equation and you were left with the Sunni insurgency, this situation would be infinitely more manageable. We are facing a situation that is deliberately being visited upon us, upon our troops, upon the Iraqi people, upon the Iraqi government. If we back away in that situation, those people have won a huge victory, and we mustn't, and we can't.
You wrote in Foreign Affairs, you cannot defeat a fanatical ideology just by imprisoning or killing its leaders. You have to defeat its ideas.
Correct.
Your critics say trying to defeat an idea is such an ephemeral notion. It's like chasing air or water. It's insidious. It'll get in everywhere. How can you possibly chase down and kill an idea around the planet?
But we did. We chased down and killed revolutionary communism.
But aren't you facing a terrible problem with domestic terrorism here?
Yeah, but it's the same ideology, and this is my point.
But you don't see a tie to the action in Iraq?
September the 11th happened before Afghanistan or Iraq. Before Afghanistan and Iraq, it was Palestine. Or if it wasn't Palestine, it was Kashmir, or Chechnya, or the presence of American and British forces in the Middle East. These people, they are using Iraq or Afghanistan. The two countries voted for democracy. Who's killing the innocent in Afghanistan or Iraq? Not British and American soldiers. It's the terrorists. And, you know, the idea that what is happening there, where Muslims are being killed by other Muslims, justifies this ideology, is only to show how completely warped our perception has been of what is really happening in the world today. What is happening is that a completely perverted ideology, based on a perverted view of Islam, is in large sections of the world preying on conflicts, on instability, and using the fact that in today's world, globalization means that confidence and stability and the absence of chaos are the fundamental prerequisites of progress. They're preying on that to try to destroy us, our way of life, and what we're able to do in the world today.
So you don't think the fact that British military action is underway in Iraq is at least partly responsible for the domestic terrorism you are facing here in the UK?
I believe that they will use anything as an excuse. The question is not, do they use it? People sometimes say, oh, you're saying it's got nothing to do with Iraq. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, of course they'll use Iraq, they use Afghanistan. And before either of those two things, since September the 11th, as I say, was planned before Afghanistan or Iraq were even thought of, and probably planned under the presidency of President Clinton. You know, that is not the fundamental reason. And one of the things we've got to try and educate our people and the world, because a large part of the Western media, in my view, is almost halfway bought into a defeatist position on these issues. This has been a generation growing. You know, just recently you had terrorist acts in Morocco, Algeria. We are not going to defeat these people by giving any credibility to their ideas at all. We have to take them on inside the Muslim community, outside of it, in any part of the world where they are using a situation of difficulty in order to create tension, conflict, sectarian hatred, and chaos.